Black Ops universe has a twisted and complex story, but I'm going to break it down and help you understand the entire Black Ops storyline before Black Ops 6 in under 15 minutes, so you know everything leading up to the brand new Black Ops 6 campaign. From World War II to 1991, let's dive right into the Black Ops story. The Black Ops storyline begins during World War II, as depicted in Call of Duty World at War, with Soviet soldiers Dmitry Petrenko and Viktor Reznov leading campaigns to reclaim Stalingrad and storm Berlin, ending World War II in Europe. Though Reznov and Petrenko were hailed as heroes of the Soviet Union's post-war strategy shifted to creating weapons to confront the United States, rather than glorifying old war heroes. In the aftermath of World War II, in October of 1945, Soviet officer Nikita Dragovich is tasked with capturing a Nazi scientist named Frederick Steiner, who has developed a new bioweapon called Nova 6, a staple of Black Ops games moving forward. Alongside Dragovich is his new brutal lieutenant, Lev Kravchenko. Dragovich and Kravchenko end up leading a squad of former Soviet heroes, including Reznov and Petrenko, to capture Steiner and his new chemical creation. After a series of battles, Reznov's squad captures a German ship loaded with Nova 6. But Dragovich betrays them, using Petrenko as a test subject for the new bioweapon and tries to use the new bioweapon on Viktor Reznov as well. Reznov narrowly escapes as British SAS and Russian forces begin fighting over the Nova freighter, and ultimately he blows up this ship so no one can get their hands on Nova 6. As he runs through the Arctic, he is later captured by Soviet forces and imprisoned in the Vorkuta Gulag, branded a traitor. We then move forward many years to 1961. The events of Call of Duty Black Ops begin with CIA operative Alex Mason, who alongside Frank Woods and Joseph Bowman is assigned to assassinate Fidel Castro during the Bay of Pigs invasion. After a mission into Fidel Castro's compound, Alex Mason seemingly kills Fidel Castro. As the team plans to make their escape by plane, Alex Mason sacrifices himself so he can clear the runway for his team to escape safely, ultimately ending up in his own knocking out and capture. Once captured and coming to, it turns out Mason killed a body double and he was captured by the real Castro. Mason is then handed over to Dragovich as a gesture of goodwill between Russia and Cuba and their future relations. For the next 2 years, Dragovich and Steiner subject Mason to a Soviet brainwashing program known as the Numbers Program, a mind control program developed by the Soviets themselves, designed to turn him into a sleeper agent like many before him. However, Mason resists the full effects of the program and is sent to the Vorkuta Gulag, where he meets Viktor Reznov. Reznov, who knows about Nova 6, becomes Mason's mentor and uses reverse brainwashing techniques to protect him from the Numbers Program, seemingly saving Alex Mason and convincing him to subscribe to my channel for all of your Call of Duty information like you should do right now. Together, Mason and Reznov, the new buddies, plan and execute a prison break, but while Mason escapes, Viktor Reznov sacrifices himself, ensuring Alex Mason's freedom. By late 1963, Alex Mason was back with the CIA and personally briefed by President John F. Kennedy for a dangerous mission to stop a Soviet rocket launch. However, during the meeting with Kennedy, Mason experiences a hallucination of himself assassinating the president, an effect of the Numbers Program he was subjected to in Russia. Soon after, Mason, Woods, and Bowman infiltrate a Russian space facility ran by Lev Kravchenko and try to prevent the launch of the Soyuz 2 rocket, which could give the Soviets an upper hand in the space race. They save a captured informant, Grigory Weaver, but the rocket launches before they can stop it. Mason ends up successfully shooting it down with a portable launcher, and they fail to capture Lev Kravchenko, frustrating Mason. Upon returning to the United States, Alex Mason heads to Dallas and is photographed around JFK the day he was assassinated, as well as hearing a numbers command that tells him information about the details of how John F. Kennedy was assassinated, insinuating that Mason himself may have killed JFK. We move forward to 1968, with Mason and his team heading to Vietnam during the Tet Offensive to reconnect with Woods and their new CIA handler, Jason Hudson. The group is tasked with finding evidence of a Soviet plot involving Nova 6 and the Numbers Program in Vietnam, which Dragovich, Kravchenko, and Steiner are still pursuing. After intense battles in Vietnam, including the defense of Khe Sanh and a search for a Russian informant who turns out to be Viktor Reznov, Alex Mason and his new MACV-SOG team work to try to stop this new Soviet plot. Mason ends up working alongside Reznov once again, who mysteriously disappears and reappears throughout these missions. Parallel to Mason's efforts, CIA operatives Russell Adler and Lawrence Sims search for the elusive Soviet agent Perseus in Vietnam. Perseus is helping the Viet Cong, and their mission uncovers proof of Soviet involvement in Vietnam. In the following days, the United States shoots down a Soviet plane carrying Nova 6, leading to a confrontation with Dragovich and Kravchenko and the MACV-SOG team led by Alex Mason. Mason and his comrades fall into enemy hands, and in one of the series' most iconic scenes, they are forced to play a deadly game of Russian roulette. Joseph Bowman refuses to participate and is brutally killed by a Soviet officer. While Woods and Mason manage to break free, they end up seeking revenge for Billy Bowman's death and killing the Soviet officer who killed Bowman. They end up stealing a Soviet helicopter and use it to destroy enemy bases throughout all of Vietnam before landing at a Russian base. At the exact same same time as the events in Vietnam, Hudson and the now fully recovered Gregory Weaver hunt down a rogue chemist named Daniel Clark in Hong Kong, who informs the two that he helped stabilize Nova 6 for use, and before he can tell them about the numbers program, he is shot in the head. The story builds towards Mason's confrontation with Kravchenko. Alex Mason, finding a POW camp where Kravchenko is located, frees the prisoners, and in doing so also frees Viktor Reznov. And during a fierce battle, Woods seemingly sacrifices himself by tackling Kravchenko out of a window just as he pulls the pins on a handful of grenades. Both men are believed to have died, but unbeknownst to Mason, Kravchenko and Woods would both survive. With Reznov's help, Alex Mason now escapes, now driven by a desire to find the remaining members of Dragovich's group. We then cut to Russia. Hudson, Weaver, and a CIA strike team lead an assault on Mount Yamato thanks to a tip they received from Daniel Clark. After clearing the base and starting an avalanche, Hudson and Weaver are contacted by Steimer, who informs them that he wishes to stop helping Russia and start helping the CIA because Dragovich is planning on killing him now that Nova and the Numbers program are complete. He tells them to meet him at Rebirth Island, and as the team escapes, an avalanche buries Mount Yamato, hiding its secrets until it is unburied in the future. The pinnacle of the story culminates on Rebirth Island, where Mason and Reznov hunt down Steiner, an engineer of Nova 6 and creator of the Numbers program. Mason and Reznov battled through Soviet forces to confront Steiner, and when they finally reach him, Reznov exacts his revenge. And on the other side of the island, Hudson and Weaver lead an assault alongside Russell Adler and Lawrence Sims to capture intelligence and save Frederick Steiner so he can inform them of Dragovich's plan. Ultimately, Hudson and Weaver fail, witnessing Alex Mason killing Steiner, proclaiming that he was Viktor Reznov. On the other side of the island, Adler looks to get information as he tortures a high-ranking Soviet officer and ultimately cuts out his eye as revenge for Weaver, losing his eye to Kravchenko to Soviet soldiers many years ago. In the final stages of Black Ops, Mason is interrogated on February 25, 1968 about his past and why he killed Steiner. He insists it was Viktor Reznov, only to learn that Reznov has been dead for years and never physically accompanied him at any point past his initial escape. Flashbacks reveal Viktor Reznov brainwashed Mason, leading him to target Dragovich, Kravchenko, and Steiner as revenge for him killing Dmitry Petrenko and betraying Viktor Reznov in the end of World War II. Hudson, his interrogator, demands Mason decipher the mysterious number sequence which are tied to Dragovich's commands, and Mason finally realizes the numbers are linked to his failed brainwashing and are a command set for sleeper agents in every major city in the United States who plan to set off Nova 6 gas bombs. He also remembers the broadcast point of these numbers is a ship outside of Cuba called the Rizalka. The next day, on February 26, Mason and Hudson lead an assault to stop the Nova 6 gas detonation. After bailing from a damaged helicopter, they discover the real number station is in fact not in the Rizalka, but underwater. After swimming to the station and battling through enemies, Mason shuts down the broadcast of the numbers program, and Dragovich confronts him. With Hudson's help, Mason drowns Dragovich, finally ending his reign. They escape the collapsing underwater station and are greeted by the US Navy, with Mason hearing Reznov's voice congratulating him on killing the three traitors. In the years following, Frank Woods was transferred between POW camps in Vietnam until he escaped in 1972, returning to work for the CIA alongside Alex Mason. Alex Mason, in 1979, ended up getting married and had a son named David. In January 1981, President Ronald Reagan formed a CIA team led by Russell Adler, including Jason Hudson, Frank Woods, Alex Mason, and others to resolve the Iranian hostage crisis. Their first mission was to track down two Iranian leaders, Qasim Javadi and Arash Kadivar, and after interrogating Qasim in Amsterdam, they discover Kadivar's location is in Turkey. The team intercepts him at an airport where they witness Kadivar execute a couple of men in a vehicle for seemingly no reason. Mason then has the opportunity to take a sniper shot, but ends up missing. This results in a firefight, and Kadivar tries to take off in his plane down the runway. After blowing up Kadivar's plane, Kadivar reveals information about a Soviet spy, Perseus, before Adler executes him, revealing Perseus is still alive and did not, in fact, die during Vietnam. In February of 1981, we are then introduced to Bell, a new member of the CIA team who served in Vietnam with Russell Adler and Lawrence Sims. The team set their sights on Anton Volkov, a Russian arms dealer linked to Perseus. After tracking down one of Volkov's subordinates, Franz Klaus, Bell infiltrates Klaus's apartment where Bell plants a bug, and after doing so, he is knocked out and captured, but later rescued by the CIA strikes, and after the rescue, they eventually corner and capture Anton Volkov. Following Anton Volkov's capture, intel leads the team to a Soviet complex in Ukraine where Woods and Bell discover a mock American town used to train Soviet soldiers. Inside, they discover Operation Greenlight on a Russian computer. Greenlight is a US program involving nuclear bombs placed throughout many European cities, and one of which has been stolen by the rogue agent Perseus. Tensions rise as Adler confronts Hudson about the secret program and it being the real reason why the team was assembled, which results in Woods punching Hudson. Adler realizes the stolen bomb could make the United States global enemy #1 if Perseus detonates it. In March of 1981, Mason and Woods head to Yamato to recover a Soviet mainframe linked to Perseus and the Numbers program. With the help of KGB insider Dmitry Belikov, Mason and Woods retrieve the mainframe. The data contains information on sleeper agents from the Dragovich Numbers program, but is too corrupted to be fully useful. So the CIA team plans an infiltration of the Lubyanka building in Moscow to recover the uncorrupted list. And upon Belikov's leaving Adler and Bell into into the Lubyanka building, they start a full firefight on their way out to escape the Lubyanka building, with the list of sleeper agents from the Numbers program ultimately escaping in a vehicle thanks to Lazar. The CIA strike team then travels to Cuba, where they track down a sleeper agent by the name of Hastings involved in Perseus' plan to use the nuclear bomb from Operation Greenlight. It's then in the dying moments of Hastings that he reveals he reversed engineered the Solar nuke so that Perseus could set off all of the Greenlight nukes simultaneously. A firefight ensues and the team suffers casualties. Bell is forced to leave Lazar behind as he escapes via Skyhook, instead opting to save Helen Park and take her with him. After the failed mission in Cuba, an injured Bell is taken back to the CIA safe house, where Adler subjects him to intense interrogation and mind control, forcing Bell to recall their Vietnam experiences and memories. It's revealed that these are false memories implanted after he was injured when Kadivar shot him earlier in the campaign at the airfield in Turkey. Bell was in fact previously a Perseus operative, brainwashed by Adler to assist the CIA. He was controlled by Adler using the trigger phrase, "We've got a job to do." Despite this, Bell reveals Perseus' plans, detonating Greenlight nukes from Solovetsky Island. With Reagan's approval, the CIA assembles a naval task force to stop Perseus. The team infiltrates Solovetsky, destroys anti-aircraft defenses, and prevents the activation of nukes by bombing the island. Bell's injured in the bombing, but the operation succeeds, and in the end, Adler takes Bell to a cliffside where he cryptically thanks Bell for his sacrifice. Before drawing his pistol, the screen fades to black as Bell meets his fate at Adler's hands. After the events of the Black Ops Cold War campaign, Alex Mason and Frank Woods trying to stop the Menendez drug cartel by killing their leader, Jose Menendez, in 1991, but not killing his son, allowing 19-year-old Raul Menendez to escape. Following the operation to stop Perseus and the Menendez cartel, Alex Mason decided to retire from service, choosing to go live in Alaska with his son and wife and live the idyllic retired life. In 1984, Victor Stitch Kuzmin, the Soviet officer tortured by Adler during the CIA's 1968 assault on Rebirth Island, takes over as the leader of Perseus using his experience in Nova 6. Stitch then captures and brainwashes Adler, turning him into a pawn for Perseus. While Adler is held captive, Stitch's agents steal the Numbers protocol data from Yamantau, destroying it with a small needled uke upon leaving, ultimately ending the story of Yamantau. Stitch then starts spreading a brainwashing signal across the world that activates Dragovich's sleeper agents. Adler fights back against this brainwashing, detonating World War II bombs throughout Verdansk to stop Stitch's broadcast before being recaptured by the CIA. Amid this, Alex Mason's wife dies, leaving him devastated. He returns to the CIA to help Adler, despite leaving his son, David, to cope alone. With Woods and Hudson and Mason's help, Adler regains control of his mind, and in their final encounter, Stitch reveals that the original Perseus is dead before Adler kills him, though his sleeper cells and legacy remain active. After the events of Stitch's broadcast and Adler's return, Alex Mason retires again to raise his son. Adler undergoes evaluation for brainwashing while Frank Woods returns to the field. And in 1986, Woods and his team are captured hunting down the now gun runner, Raul Menendez, son of Jose Menendez. This prompts Jason Hudson to call Alex Mason for help, which angers David Mason. David, still affected by his father's previous absence after his mother's death, is sent to stay with Hudson's family as Alex accepts the mission to rescue Woods. Alex Mason then heads to Africa to assist Unitol forces in exchange for information on Frank Woods. After helping repel an enemy attack, Mason learns Woods is on a nearby barge. He and Hudson rush to rescue him but are shot down and forced to fight through the enemies on the barge. They find Woods malnourished but alive and surrounded by the bodies of his teammates, which are decomposing. As they escape, Mason shoots down an attacking helicopter and the barge runs aground near an enemy camp. There they encounter arms smuggler Raul Menendez. Mason ends up shooting out Raul's eye, injuring him in a standoff, and then returns to Hudson and Woods fighting to the shoreline before being rescued by Unitol forces. After saving Woods, Mason re-enlisted the CIA once again in September of 1986. He is sent alongside Frank Woods to Afghanistan to aid the Mujahideen against the Soviet invasion secretly. Upon arrival, the Mujahideen leader doubts their ability, but Soviet forces attack, forcing Mason and Woods to defend the camp on horseback, destroying tanks and helicopters. A massive Soviet assault arrives, and Mason defeats Lev Kravchenko, blowing up his tank. Furious over his past imprisonment, during the interrogation of Kravchenko, and after Kravchenko states there's a mole in the CIA, Woods kills Kravchenko. The Mujahideen then betray the CIA almost immediately, leaving Mason, Hudson, and Woods stranded in the desert. Mason, hallucinating, sees Viktor Reznov, who helps save him and his team. We then move forward a few months, and Noriega, general of the Panamanian military, and the CIA team up to capture Raul Menendez, while Menendez sits with his sister, Josefina. Panamanian soldiers attack. Enraged, Menendez kills an officer but is subdued. Later, Noriega frees him, but Menendez attacks Noriega upon hearing Josefina's cries. Fueled by rage, Menendez fights through the village to save her, but a grenade accidentally kills Josefina. We then cut to 15 minutes earlier. Woods, Mason, and Hudson attempt to capture Menendez while fighting their way through the compound. Mason and Woods find a document about a mole in the CIA, and Woods seeks vengeance for his teammates in Africa. Inside Menendez's mansion, Woods loses control, causing a grenade to bounce into Josefina's room, killing her. The mission ends with Menendez seemingly dead and Hudson telling the team, "Today never happened." We then move forward to December 19th, 1989. Frank Woods and Alex Mason were briefed about capturing Manuel Noriega during the U.S. invasion of Panama, and they successfully capture Noriega, but Hudson reveals he will be traded for another prisoner, Menendez. At the exchange, Woods is ordered to shoot a hooded figure, believing it to be Menendez. He fires only to discover he has shot Mason. Furious, Woods tries to kill Noriega, but Menendez ambushes him, shooting off his kneecap. Woods then awakens to find Mason dead, Hudson tied up, and David Mason under Menendez's control. Menendez forces Hudson to choose who dies. Hudson then sacrifices himself to save Woods and David, and Menendez kills him, leaving Woods alive to suffer. As he departs, Menendez taunts David, saying he will one day seek revenge. We then move forward to the year 1990. A few months have passed since the deaths of Alex Mason and Jason Hudson, and after a thorough investigation, the deputy director of the CIA, Daniel Livingstone, determines the mole responsible for the chain reaction where Woods was tricked into shooting Mason and causing Hudson's death was in fact Russell Adler, and puts out a most wanted target on his back. But we do know at the start of Black Ops 6, he is in fact in the Middle East doing something to try and stop the mystery group Pantheon, leaving you with everything you need to know about the Black Ops franchise before Black Ops 6. Also, make sure you're subscribed because I have a video coming out tomorrow talking about everything you need to know about the villain of Black Ops 6, Pantheon. And until next time, I am Icebergs, your Call of Duty informant. Stay frosty.